It was hot and things got chippy, but nothing got out of control. The Giants and the Jets just wrapped up joint practice number 2. I'm Brandon London alongside Paul Schwartz. This is our Blue Rush post-practice report. Paul, a lot to talk about today over the course of the 2 days and today. I guess, should we start with the fight or do we start with the offense kind of bouncing back?
Well, you said it was hot. It's still hot.
Still hot out here, yes.
You keep me out here much longer,
Yeah.
it's going to get chippy between us. Okay?
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
You understand
Yes,
that?
sir. Yes, sir. Don't go full Jeremy Shockey on me,
Okay,
please.
No.
Okay.
You know what, though? That was good by the Giants. We'll get to that.
Yep.
Restraint, but sticking up for your guys.
Absolutely.
But I thought it was a very productive. Look, I love joint practices. I think they are incredibly productive. If you can do it the right way, I think the Giants and Jets should both be commended. They did it
sure.
the right way. A couple little scuffles here and there, but they respected each
Absolutely.
other. Brian Dable said, leading into this, we want to stay healthy and we want to keep the Jets healthy. I think that carried through pretty much for 2 days.
Yep.
And I thought the Giants, one overall that I would say is that both lines, which desperately needed to get better. You know, we always talk about the Eagles as having great offensive line,
Yep.
great defensive line. I think both the offensive and defensive lines for the Giants in the 2 days showed up and had you thinking, the defensive line especially,
Yep.
and certainly the offensive line where you looked at it and said, they know what they're doing. Now they're missing Andrew Thomas,
Yep.
but they know what they're doing, and I think they can compete. And they did compete against
Yep,
the Jets, who have
absolutely.
a pretty good defensive line. So that was an overview. I thought that was quite encouraging.
Yeah, and their bounce back day today, because they kind of started a little sluggish when it came to the team periods yesterday. I think all of the beat, we had him down with 3 sacks given up in the first 3 plays of 11 on 11s yesterday. Today, a lot cleaner with the operation. You saw Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart having a cleaner pocket. Now, no Malik Neighbors again. Darius Slayton didn't practice too much. He was limited. No Jalen Hyatt. So there wasn't really that deep ball element to the offense. But we got a chance to see Russ with a clean-ish pocket. He's able to move the football and get the football to different guys to different guys within this offense. I thought he and Theo Johnson had a couple nice throws today. He likes throwing the football to Wan'Dale Robinson as well. But when we get into those periods where, you know, he had a fade ball today against Brandon Stevens. It was thrown to Lil Jordan Humphrey, and he didn't come down with it. I'm thinking in my head, it was like, oh, okay, that's a play that should be made. But then I thought, number 1 is right there on the sideline, you know. So that's, if you substitute Lil Jordan Humphrey for Malik Neighbors, I feel as though Malik Neighbors is going to come down with that football. But at the end of the day, I think the Giants in these middle periods, these team periods, these competitive periods, offensive line gave Russell Wilson and the quarterbacks time to throw the football to different receivers, and they were able to run the football as well.
Well, on Tuesday, first of all, I think they ran the ball quite well.
Yes,
look, you know,
both days.
It's hard to tell exactly. You're not going to break a tackle. You're going to thud.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The offense cheers, and the defense says, no, you would have been stopped.
Absolutely.
But it looked cleaner. It looked like there were definitely some plays where there were holes. Certainly Tracy, Devin Singletary.
Yep.
So, yeah, I did notice that. That I thought was encouraging. Now, in the red zone on Tuesday, after kind of a sluggish team period,
Yes,
really,
yep.
3 for 3. You know, and that was terrific. Theo Johnson touchdown, Devin Singletary short run, and
Darius Slayton.
touchdown. That was great.
Yep.
Now, in a not really a red zone, in a 2-minute drill to end today, Russell Wilson and the Giants they got started well with a pass to Wan'Dale Robinson,
Yep.
but it fizzled out.
Yep.
And you know, McTamaney tried a 61-yard field goal, fell short. Now the Jets also in their 2-minute drill fell short.
Yes,
too.
they
So
did.
both
Yes, they
sides,
did.
I
Yes,
think
they did.
The Heat and you know, mix and matching personnel, the defenses were a step ahead. That was not great, but you don't really expect it to be great.
No, but and again, it's just one of those things where you hear me talk about it all the time, Paul, just about being able to evaluate guys. Jackson Dart kind of coming along a little bit. There was a couple pre-snap penalties. He also botched a snap as well. That's something that he's going to have to clean up, because I feel as though, and we've talked about this before, there's a race for that QB2 position. They want to throw everything at this kid to see what he can pick up and what he can't. The pre-snap penalties or botching the snap, that's only giving Jameis Winston, that's giving him that job instead of trying to take it away. Before we talk about the defense, though, I think just the tight end position. Greg Dulcich is having himself a pretty solid camp, and he was a guy that came over from Denver last year. He and Russell Wilson have a thing. He and Jameis Winston, he and all those quarterbacks have a thing, but I think that bringing Russell Wilson and having him as your QB1 on this team, we're going to be able to really see Theo Johnson make some plays or have the ability to make some plays in his second year.
Well, I'm not going to say breakout stars or anything.
Okay,
but Theo
okay.
Johnson is a guy who has unquestionably flashed most days in training camp, and
Yep.
he looked good against the Jets. He was just coming on. The light was just coming on
Yep,
for him last year,
Yep.
and he got hurt.
Yep.
He got hurt, and he only played in 12 games. That was discouraging. He looks back. He is back. He looks fine. He's a huge target. He's
Huge.
So, I mean, I'm going to. Well, this is something I'm going to put in my season preview.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I think that Theo Johnson can compete to be the third most productive receiver on this team.
I'm with you.
Do. And,
I'm with you.
And that's Malik Neighbors, if he's healthy, is going to be number one. Between Slayton and Wandale, can Theo Johnson move into one of those
Absolutely.
top three?
Okay.
I think they can.
Okay.
I think he can. Now we'll see. That's not taking those guys down. It's putting him up.
Yep.
He should be a force as an offensive player. Now we didn't talk about the little fight. Well, it wasn't such a
Okay,
little
let's
fight,
get into it.
But I kind of liked it because look, I talked to John Runyon after the practice, and he said the whole day yesterday we're doing thud, right?
Okay.
The running back gets hit, there's a thud, and you kind of continue the play, but that's it.
Yep.
He said today all of a sudden the Jets come out and want to be macho, and they're taking guys to the ground. So Tyrone Tracy has a nice run. He breaks into the backfield. Will McDonald puts him down. That was enough. Greg Van Roten took umbrage with that.
Yep.
John Runyon took umbrage with that. Marcus Bowe, the rookie, took umbrage with that.
Yep.
And Runyon was funny because it was, I think it's Stiggers, the defensive back, he was trying to get him to bait him into throwing a punch. Runyon said, I'm not throwing a punch because Coach Dable has warned us about that. In a game, I get thrown out. And he said, in training camp, remember last year with the Lions, right?
Yep.
The Giants got fined for fighting. So the league can fine you for fighting in joint practices. So he said, I'm not going to cost us money. I was trying to bait him into punching me, but he didn't. But that was good. And Marcus Bowe, who's a very impressive rookie, his blood pressure must be like this. He's so calm. He's just a calm guy to talk to. And he called it appropriate retaliation.
I like it.
No, he said
I like it.
smart retaliation. Okay. For a rookie, that's pretty good. So I think that was good. The Giants did not stand for it, but they didn't go over the line either. Look, it's easy to go over the line, right? You've been on the field.
Absolutely.
Guys go over the line, and everyone's macho, and everyone's throwing punches, and it's just silly. They made their point, and then they got off the field.
And that's pretty much what Jets linebacker Jamie Sherwood talked about when he was asked about the skirmishes and the scuffle. He basically was like, they're going to protect their guy. In retaliation, we're going to protect our guy. But he was glad that it didn't break out into or escalate into anything any further, because these are both two head coaches that understand that these are the things that can get you beat this year. And I know a lot of people was excited about the fight, the brawl that broke out during OTAs that we were looking at. But you can tell that Brian Dable has put the fear of a head coach in these guys to where it's like, you throw a punch, something happens, if you get some sort of 15-yard penalty in practice, I'm pulling you out, because he's pulling guys out when they jump off sides. And I saw that happen with a Brian Burns. Brian Burns jumped off sides in a team period today. They got him out. They put Golston in. So the accountability is there when it comes to both sides. So that's great to see on the Giants side of things. And speaking of Brian Burns, without a doubt, easily, and I know this isn't a thing, he was the joint practice MVP these last 2 days, because you could check all the reports. He's the talk of the tweets. No one could guard this kid.
Well, the Jets have two young tackles, right?
Yes, yep.
And Burns was over on both of them and dominated both of them. Look, Brian Burns he's not the forgotten man, right? He's not.
No.
You have Abdul Carter now, and he's the new flavor of the month. And
Yes.
he's been terrific.
Yeah.
You have Kayvon Thibodeau, and everyone's saying, okay, where is he going to line up, and what is he going to do, and those kind of things. And Brian Burns is just kind of there, right?
Yep.
As the starter, certainly. Brian Burns he's Mr. Hustle. I mean, yes,
Yes,
going
he is.
forward to the quarterback, we get it. I get it. But his plays down the field are remarkable. I mean, he just refuses to give up on a play. And here's what I would say: the best thing I could say about Brian Burns, who's a terrific player, is that he looks like he's trying to make the team. Right? I
yeah.
mean, that's what you
yeah,
do,
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like you're trying to make the team.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's not phony, but sometimes it can be false hustle.
Yes.
He doesn't have to do that.
Not at all.
He's doing it. It's not phony. It's not false. He's doing it, though. And, Brian, you made the team. But
yeah.
He's setting an example. And he said today, he doesn't like talking about it, right? He said, this bleep's not rocket science. He said, the sky's the limit with this group, but he doesn't like talking about it. He says good things about Abdul Carter, and then he backs off.
Yes.
It's like, just wait and watch him play, okay? He hasn't done anything yet.
And Abdul Carter is learning from a vet like that, because he spoke to the media and talked about how not only is Brian Burns a freak athlete, and he picks up things from him, from his game, but he also talks about him running to the football and leading from the front, showing, not talking about it, but showing and doing it. The preseason game, he was doing it. He did it all throughout practice. So I think that's somebody that we need to keep our eye on and having a breakout season, because he's been a guy that's been on losing teams his entire career. He's been on teams that in the fourth quarter, the game is pretty much wrapped up. No need to throw the football. And I think his career high in sacks in the season is around, I think at like 12. This Giants defense, this Giants D-line is for real, but like they say, they have to show that they got to earn the right to rush. Before we kind of wrap this up, and we were talking about how great this joint practices was for both teams, especially for the defense, because when you're playing against a Jets offense and you're going and competing against a Braylon Allen and a Breece Hall, that's the closest thing you get to a Saquon Barkley. And I think that both those running backs gave the Giants defense at times some fits, and they gave them some great work. So that's something that I think they got a lot of they got a lot better being able to play against two solid running backs that the Jets have in that backfield there. Final thought, Paul, kind of wrap us up, because like you said, want to get you out of this heat before you beat me up.
Look, I think the Giants got better.
Yes,
I do. And
absolutely.
I don't know how
absolutely.
much the starters are going to play on Saturday night, but they got a tremendous amount of work. Like I said, I'm a big fan of these joint practices. I remember, years ago when they instituted, I'm like, well, I don't know what they're going to get out of it. As long as the teams are smart, which they were, they get a lot out of it. Garrett Wilson in the 2-minute drill, Justin Fields is trying to hit them, and they don't connect at all.
No, at all.
That's
Yes.
a Jets problem, obviously.
Yep.
But that's good for the Giants.
That's good for the Giants.
He's a hell of a receiver, and if, Paulson Adebo was a step for step with him. That's good for the Giants. So we don't know how many times they'll match up on Saturday night, but it's good they matched up on the practice field. That's the last practice the Giants will have with any fans, so it was a good send-off.
Okay.
And look, it's all getting closer here. We're not quite there yet, but we got to get moving here. We got to start, things start having to count, which they will soon.
I can taste it in the air. We got football, ladies and gentlemen. That's a wrap on this episode of Blue Rush. That's a wrap on the joint practices. For Paul Schwartz, I'm Brandon London. Stay cool, everybody.